Welcome in, everyone, and thank you for listening to the 210th ever episode of the Missouri Sports Podcast, brought to you by 106 Apparel and recording from the Rebel Advertising Studio in beautiful Springfield, Missouri. I'm one of your hosts, Cameron Albert, alongside my good friend and fellow Mizzou fan, Kyle DeVries. How you doing today, Kyle?
I'm doing great, Cameron. How are you?
I'm doing well. Football is back. It's been back because of college football, of course.
It's been back.
The NFL is back. Fantasy football is back. We're all very excited. I'm wearing my Christian McCaffrey jersey.
You look great.
He's back. He's going to stay healthy all season. Definitely.
Yeah, probably.
Kyle, you've got Josh Allen on multiple fantasy teams?
Yes, I'm quite leveraged with Josh Allen this year. I decided to go early quarterback in a couple leagues, so we'll see if it pays off for me. We're playing each other in at least one league tonight or this week, so yeah.
Did you draft him in the first round ever?
Of a dynasty startup, yes.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Not in redraft?
No. I'm not done. No. Come on.
It seems like fantasy football, maybe I've just so perfectly put myself into certain echo chambers, but it seems like fantasy football is popping off this year.
Yeah, I think it's
everybody's talking about it.
I really feel like it's gaining in popularity a lot in the last few years, especially this off season. It seemed but then again, I'm on Twitter a lot, and Twitter knows what I like, so that's probably part of it.
Yeah, that's mainly what I was meaning is on Twitter, you can basically cultivate the perfect ecosystem where you never have to see anything that you don't like,
that's
unless
social
you
media.
want to.
That is social media in general, yes.
I love telling Twitter, don't show me this stuff.
Yeah. Tell them what's up.
Yeah. Mizzou's 1-0. We'll talk about the Louisiana Tech game. We're going to talk about the Kansas State game. Big game, week 2. We've got some news and things, but before we do that, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. Leave us a review on Spotify or Apple or wherever you listen to us. And you can support us on Patreon, just like our newest supporter over there, Aaron Houlihan. Shout out to Aaron. Thanks for supporting us. Thanks for joining the Discord server. Just hopped right in, making friends right away. We love to see it. That could be you. Not you, Kyle. You're already in it.
I'm well established.
But everybody listening, that could be you if you want. What do you want to talk about first? Good news or bad news?
Give me a little good news.
Good news is Missouri got a big commitment from 4-star offensive lineman Logan Reichert, a home state kid, and he's 6'6", 350 pounds, adding to an already decent recruiting class for Mizzou and making it even better. I want to say, and I think it was Dave Matter that tweeted this, but it's the first 4-star in-state offensive lineman that has committed to Mizzou since 2014 or something.
Yeah, 2015, I think.
Yeah,
this is just a huge commitment, and we cover a lot of recruiting in the off season, and so we've talked a lot about Logan Reichert in the last 12 months or so, and so it's a guy we've been on for a long time and has kind of just been that beacon of hope for all this time. We felt good about him for a while, and so it sounded like he's been committed for even a couple of months now. So the coaching staff knew where he was going. We felt pretty good about where he was going, but it's still great to make it official and just have the big announcement and see him with the Mizzou shirt on and all that stuff. So if you don't know already, Logan Reichert is a 4-star offensive tackle from Raytown High School in Kansas City. This man, as a senior in high school, is 6'7", 350 pounds.
Today's his birthday.
And happy birthday, Logan Reichert. And he's ranked 87th nationally on Rivals. So anytime you're adding a top 100 player, that's enormous. And it's an in-state kid who genuinely really seems like he just wants to suit up for the Tigers. And so that's super exciting. He was down to Mizzou in Oregon and kind of just always felt good there. And so got the good news today.
Yeah, Power Mizzou and Gabe DeArmond had live video going on YouTube of the announcement, and then they interviewed him real quick afterwards.
That's kind of cool.
That was very cool. It was always a good sign. I pulled up the video, and the first thing I heard was Gabe say right after his announcement, We're going to talk to him about his decision. Either way. Yeah. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I feel pretty good about this. Good. Yeah. It did already, but that kind of sealed the deal.
Mm-hmm.
And the announcement was like 30 seconds long.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely love that.
Beautiful.
Right on time. And yeah, he picked Mizzou, wearing a Mizzou shirt and everything. And then he told Gabe right afterwards that he told Coach Drinkwitz and everybody that he was coming to Mizzou. He told them after his official visit, like the last day of his official visit when he was headed home back in June.
Yeah.
So it's honestly shocking that nothing more concrete had leaked before today. It was like, yeah, everybody feels pretty good, but I'm surprised we didn't hear through the rumor mill or anything like, actually, I know for a fact he's told the coaching staff he's
a silent commit for 3 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is just massive, and he's offensive tackle, so, projects to potentially play left tackle, which most people would say that's probably the most important position on the offensive line. So kind of defending the quarterback's blind side. And speaking of the left tackle, Javon Foster has a pretty big job on his hands that we'll talk a little bit later, but super exciting commitment, and have been kind of wanting to see that one become official for a while.
So moving on to a little bit of bad news. It's good and bad. I mean, it's quite a situation with wide receiver Chance Luper. He didn't play last week, and Coach Drinkwitz has announced publicly now that he was hospitalized in basically an emergency situation where doctors decided he absolutely cannot play football right now. But basically, there's not a lot of details, but there was an underlying medical illness situation that kept him off the field, and he's okay. He's fine, basically, health-wise, but until more details come out about that, he's not going to be seeing the field anytime soon, I would say.
Yeah, crazy. Like literally the day of the game last week, it sounded like he was having some chest pains, having trouble breathing and stuff. So obviously, like incredibly serious, like a very emergency medical conditions. Yeah. So yeah, good to hear that he's in stable condition and doing well. No clue if he's gonna return this year or what that's gonna look like, but I'm glad he's doing well.
And then the last little bit of news before we recap the Louisiana Tech game is College Football Playoff Committee has voted to expand the playoff to 12 teams by the 2026 season. So it could come before that, but sounds like at the latest 2026 there will be 12 teams.
Yeah, I think this is great for college football. I think it's great for Missouri. And I think I've seen a few people kind of try and have the contrarian viewpoint a little bit. I can't see it. I'm sorry. I just disagree. If you think that this is a bad thing for Missouri or a bad thing for college football, I won't get too deep in the culture or into the weeds. But I just, in Missouri's best years, and they've had in the last 20 years, they're still not even making a 14 playoff. So I think this is, gives something for Missouri fans to be excited about all year long as a potential to be in that conversation. And, more football, more fun.
Yeah, and 2026, there's a group of Missouri Tigers that might be peaking around that time. So, never know.
Never know.
It might line up nicely. I was just thinking back through the last few times that Missouri's been in that like top 15, top 10 situation at the end of the regular season. And I don't know, I just feel like in every situation you look at the caliber of team Missouri had and some of their losses and some of their biggest games, and I think they're right there in it. I mean, like 2007, Oklahoma, Kansas, and Missouri are all making a 12-team playoff. And Oklahoma that year lost to West Virginia in their bowl game. Missouri won. Kansas won the Orange Bowl. So those were three great teams from the Big 12 that kind of beat each other up and kept any one of them from playing in the national championship game that year. And I think it's plausible that, that's Missouri's only chance to win a national championship is an expanded playoff where they get a shot at it by...
They get hot at the right time.
Exactly. And you can do that for 2013 as well, and look at the teams that were involved.
Yeah.
It came down to Missouri in the SEC championship game with Auburn, and there's, a handful of teams there that I think would be able to compete with Auburn or the eventual champion Florida State. That Auburn-Florida State game was a really close game. I think there's really exciting matchups to be had in a 12-team playoff, and upsets aren't as likely in football as they are in basketball or anything, but let's at least give some of these teams a shot.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's the beauty of, and you just said it, I mean, it's not the equivalent, but think of March Madness. I mean, that is such a great sporting event. There's things that you could never predict in a million years that happen in that event, and I definitely think that it might not happen as often in the 12-team college football playoff, but definitely crazy events and unpredictability, and maybe even some of the top teams going down would certainly be a realistic outcome. And I mean, just thinking of Missouri having a season where they're fighting for a top 12 spot, that just sounds so fun to me, and realistically attainable basically in a year. And we get excited if Missouri makes the field of 68 in the NCAA tournament. That's a good year for Missouri basketball, especially lately. Making a top 12, that's certainly among the elite company in the sport.
And I will admit, there's probably not, I can't think of another sports league that's as top heavy as college football right now.
Yep.
And that's not a good thing, and a 12-team playoff does not change how dominant Alabama or Georgia or Ohio State are right now.
Yep.
But, outside of those three, I mean, we've seen Oklahoma come and go. We've seen Clemson come and go. We've seen Oregon come and go. So, I don't know. I think there's room for, even if there's three dominant teams at any given time that are just, those three are the only ones really in contention.
Right. And
two of them are going to have to play each other.
Right.
If there's three of them.
And Nick Saban is not going to coach forever. And
exactly.
Teams will cycle in and out of elite, play. And I just think, I don't remember what point I was going to make. Yeah, actually, the point you make, I think, is a college football issue in general. I don't think that that's really like a playoff.
Right.
The playoff doesn't really have anything to do with the fact that there's two or three dominant teams. That's more a problem with the sport in general. And I want to see more recruits go to a wider scope of schools, and maybe a larger possibility of a national championship or playoff berth maybe encourages some variance in where recruits are going.
Yeah, that's absolutely. I agree with that 100%. If you're a recruit that is looking at the Ohio State, Alabamas of the world, and then maybe you've got your hometown Mizzou, if there's a path to the college football playoff, and that means a path to a national championship right there in front of you, then that makes a difference.
And doing it.
Yeah. If you're, and again, we get excited when this kind of is more a statement on the state of Mizzou football right now, but we're happy to see them in the top 25 nowadays. And if that's where the bar is, we should be very happy with a 12-team playoff. That's my opinion.
Yep.
But. All right. Nobody's getting to the playoff if they lose to Louisiana Tech.
That's probably a fair assessment.
We are one step closer to the playoff. Anything else we need to talk about before we get into this? Week one?
You want to talk about just our general experience?
Yeah, that's how I was going to start.
Game day experience.
So, we were lucky enough to attend this game in person, and wonderful atmosphere, but it all started with one of our Patreon supporters hooking us up with a parking pass and a tailgating opportunity. So shout out to Britt for that. And as you can see here on the table, if you're watching on YouTube, this is a note and signature from Mizzou head basketball coach, Witten family head basketball coach, Dennis Gates. So to make a long story short, our guy Britt, one of the listeners, was sitting next to Coach Gates on an airplane out of Columbia and basically asked, like, hey, could you write a note for these podcast guys? They, cover the team and everything. And so he did. He says, to Missouri Sports Podcast, thank you for all the support. Continue to do your best. MIZ, Coach Gates. And not only did he do that, Britt went ahead and got it framed, and we have the pen, and it's incredible.
Yeah.
So special thank you to Britt for your hospitality.
Yeah.
Sure. On Thursday. That was all, more than we expected and delightful.
Yeah, seriously, so awesome, and we appreciate you very much. And yeah, Thursday was a blast. Had great seats. Pretty much perfect outcome game wise, and yeah, it was a fantastic day.
Yep. We also got to talk to Tyler, one of our listeners and supporters. So
yeah,
shout out to Tyler.
Yeah, it was great to see you.
Enjoyed your company,
everybody.
I will have to find a permanent spot for this bad boy pretty soon.
Yeah.
Anything else just about our experience there? I thought it was a good turnout. The Tiger Stripe Stadium worked pretty well, I thought.
Yeah.
The students showed up full force. I was really impressed with that.
Yeah, I feel like they're making some good changes to the game day experience and stuff. I think they've had some good ideas, and the south end zone looks great. We were sitting right there by the end zone. We're actually in the section, but close to it, and it was a beautiful evening too. The stadium looked really good.
Yeah, the players coming out through the fans in the south end zone is really cool.
Yeah.
What else? We didn't try the food lockers or mobile ordering food because
I told you I wouldn't.
There's no cell service in the stadium.
That's true.
And
at least for the first half.
Yeah, we didn't. Yeah, that's true. We didn't get to try the food lockers. Maybe next time. As far as the actual game goes, Mizzou won the game 52-24. I was pretty close with my prediction. I was only off by 4 points. I said 48-24 Mizzou. You had like 42-27 or something like that. So all around pretty close.
We knew they'd score some points and give up some points. That was pretty much what happened.
Yeah. I would say overall our preview episode was pretty on the money for how the game actually turned out.
And
if I can brag a little bit.
Points in garbage time too.
Yeah, garbage time points.
Which you guys said.
Honestly, we'll get to this in more detail, but I was pretty impressed with the defense only giving up, I think, 17 points up until, very late in the game. I don't know where to start with this. Let's start with the first Mizzou offensive possession. That was a little bit of a head scratcher and a little bit concerning in the moment, especially in the stadium when people started booing when they didn't go for it on fourth down.
People were not happy around us immediately. Yeah, which is kind of understandable. I literally wrote on my paper that it was a scary beginning, and it's just the 3 just completely lateral passes that were easily pick sixes or just basically gainers for nothing. And I understand maybe wanting to spread them out early and just try and get them all over the field, get them running, try and win the fatigue game over the course of the game, but it was a little strange. And just 3 right there in a row, and then the kind of confusion on fourth down and are they going for it? Because it didn't seem like they really knew what they were going to do. So
yeah, I would say in under normal circumstances I wouldn't be too worried about something like that. And now that the game is over and we have hindsight, that was just a blip on the radar. But for Coach Drinkwitz to be talking all off season almost about he's got to open up his play calling, they've got to be more aggressive, and just saying that over and over again and kind of making us over the course of the off season be okay, he's learned a few things, we're going to see a more explosive passing game,
come out swinging.
Yeah. And then to just get the opposite of that was
you had all the offseason to draw that up. 3 completely just lateral passes.
Yeah.
That was a little concerning.
And then I noticed this live, but I think it was more apparent on the TV broadcast. I watched it back afterwards, and I think that perhaps Brady Cook had he could have snapped the ball and run a play on fourth down if he wanted to.
Yep.
because it looked like when he's coming off the field, they take a delay of game and punt on 4th down, and they try to draw him off sides. But as he's running off the field, it looks like Coach Drink is telling him, like, hey, when you see this, that's when you should do this. Mm-hmm. I was trying to figure out, there was a conversation that happened right there that's my best guess of what they were talking about.
It seemed like it was in Brady's hands.
Yeah, potentially.
On what they wanted to do.
Yeah, Drinkwitz was disappointed or upset about something a little bit there, and kind of telling him, like, hey, I don't know. He was coaching him up, but also critiquing something that happened there. And the only thing I can imagine is, he got a look that if you get this look, run this play. Mm-hmm. And he got it, but didn't realize it, or, didn't want to pull the trigger or something.
I mean, yeah, they were still in their own territory. So
yeah, if they
don't get that, they give up some pretty amazing field position.
For sure.
I really was not upset at all with the punt there. It's just I think everybody was just annoyed with the confusion right off the bat is what it seemed like.
Yeah, it was this feeling of like, okay, like you're supposed to come out and score with this offense against this defense. Mm-hmm. Is not supposed to have issues, and you just act like, okay, 4th down, we're not even thinking about it. We're lining up on offense, and it kind of gives the crowd like, okay, didn't love those first 3 play calls, but we're going to stay aggressive here and try to get this 1st down.
Yeah, it was probably almost a little bit of like, wow, those first 3 plays went terribly. I'm a little bit afraid to go for it here or something. I don't know. They just didn't seem confident in that first drive.
But
drive jitters.
I mean, in my opinion, just say, okay, we're just punting. Just punt it away.
What I would have preferred.
Yeah, but all's well that ends well. That was made me a little nervous early, but then they got it together. Mm-hmm. I thought over the course of the game, the offense looked pretty solid. Brady Cook was 18 of 27 passing for 201 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. What'd you think of his performance overall?
Yeah, I mean, I really just think the first half, really in general, I was maybe a little bit disappointed with Brady Cook in general, but thought he looked much more comfortable in the second half. Was kind of throwing it down the field, was taking his time, and not didn't have happy feet in the pocket quite as much, and kind of found his 2 best targets probably in Lovett and Burden, and kind of got the ball in their hands. And so yeah, that first half it got off to a little bit of a slow start, especially the first quarter. But once he got going, I think he looked pretty good.
Cook definitely did a few things that I really liked. He had a couple plays where the defense got through almost immediately, and he rolled out but kept his eyes downfield. Mm-hmm. One time made a really nice play.
Yes.
The other one was incomplete, but way better than a sack.
Yeah, the play where he spun out of the pocket and threw it like 20, 30 yards down the field, that was a fantastic play.
Yeah. He had one more like that, but it went incomplete early on. And I liked his instincts for stepping up in the pocket and then deciding to take off. Mm-hmm. He took off and scored a touchdown and got a 1st down early on as well, just from kind of seeing, oh, there's nobody right in front of me. I might as well take these 10 yards. Yeah, one of them turned into a touchdown.
Yeah, I think that's honestly one of the most exciting things about him this season is just he really does kind of have that dual threat ability where he doesn't really look to run first, but, man, he's got some speed, and he's a good athlete. And he can definitely just run for a 30-yard touchdown if that space is there.
One thing that is still kind of frustrating for me is the play calling, and I wonder if I just need to get over it and this is what it is. This is what a Coach Eli Drinkwitz offense is. Yeah, producer Cameron, what you got there?
Confetti falling.
Sorry, I was just trying to hit record before it starts.
Oh. NFL game kicking off. The play calling is frustrating to see how many throws are behind the line of scrimmage.
Yes.
But they'll flip a switch when they need to and just go get yards.
Yeah,
at the end of the first half.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, we were talking about that in the game was, when they just needed to have some normal passing plays to just get chunk yardage to get in field goal range, they just did it. They just marched right down the field. They found Barrett Bannister or Towski Dove. They're just like, oh, yeah, he's streaking across the field wide open. Let's utilize this play calling.
And Cook looked really good doing it.
Exactly.
I mean, at that last drive at the end of the first half, they were running a play and they ran it twice in a row and got the exact same result.
Yeah.
There's a deep receiver Dove was kind of an intermediate route, and then there was an underneath guy. And Cook had all three options, and he hit the wide open guy both times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of mentioned it earlier, but there was one play in particular where it was just a completely sideways pass. Excuse me. Wow. Just like choked on spit,
Yeah.
saliva.
It happens sometimes.
Happens every once in a while.
Producer Cameron threw us off with that.
Yeah, I'm just all
sorry,
out of
guys.
whack now.
Yeah.
Just a completely lateral pass all the way across the field. Like, it wasn't like a short little quick pass. I mean, it was like in the air for what felt like an eternity.
Yeah.
And Luther Burden made a really nice play on it, kind of fought off the cornerback and was able to get a few yards out of it. But, man, if that is a better corner, a little quicker, I just think that's just a pick six.
Yeah.
Easy pick six. Just lofted it sideways across the field. And that scares me because I just feel like
It's going to happen at some point.
it is. It's going to happen this year.
Yeah.
Just count on it.
Yeah.
And at least once this year, they're going to get house called by doing that.
Yeah. I would say the best probability is going to be in one of these early SEC games.
Yeah.
Against Georgia or Florida.
Exactly.
One
When
of
they're
those
kind of
guys.
like
Yeah.
a little bit jittery those first few snaps or
Yeah.
whatever.
You think you got an easy throw, and it's just going the other way.
Yeah, I'm with you. The play calling is a little bit of a concern to me, and I don't want to freak out yet.
No.
But I just feel like in year 3, like if it was something different, we'd know by now.
So I was a little bit reassured on a rewatch. They were taking shots to Luther Burden, and it just wasn't quite happening. I think I counted 4 times. There was pretty deep throws to Luther Burden that went incomplete. One, he almost got one-handed.
That was almost an amazing catch.
There was another one early on that was underthrown and probably should have been an interception.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's just thrown, a little bit deeper, it's a touchdown.
Yeah, Brady definitely. I kind of struggled on a few of those deeper throws, and I know he has it in him. I've seen him do it, and especially in the spring game, he had some really nice throws. I'm hoping that he kind of can develop over. I mean, he has so little experience playing in real games. I think we're gonna have to cut him some slack, but I will certainly hope that that's something that he improves on in the year. But I'm with you. I was excited to see them just consistently go back to Luther Burden over and over and just let him make plays.
He finished the game with 3 catches for just 17 yards and a touchdown, and one of the most impressive touchdowns I've seen in a long time.
Right there in front of us.
Yeah. There's been a snapshot going around of the moment he catches the ball. There's basically a guy on him, and then 3 more defenders between him and the goal line, and it's just been captioned this play resulted in a touchdown.
Yeah.
It was really
ridiculous.
impressive.
Man, it's so crazy to see just those elite athletes playing for Mizzou. It just seems like we haven't really had one of those, athletic wide receivers that'll just, shake somebody off or whatever, and shake a couple defenders or juke
We've
some
had
guys.
it in the backfield. We've had it with Tyler
Right.
Beatty and Larry Rountree, where they're making some of these plays.
They're just making plays, but it was awesome to see, and I think Dominic Lovett's got that ability too. So to have both of those guys is exciting.
Burden also had 3 rushes for 26 yards and another touchdown.
They're doing that Debo Samuel with him a little bit.
Yeah, I'm all for it.
Get him the ball.
Absolutely. And I thought that was a good way to work him in to get him comfortable. His first touch was a wildcat direct snap run play, just to the open side of the field. And if he was going to make that into something, he was going to have to make the first guy miss, because he had no blockers on that side of the field, and he made it happen. It looked really good.
Yeah. I mean, we obviously know this about him, but just seeing his rare combination of size and speed in real life, it's just, man, that's no surprise why this guy is hard to bring down. He's just a beast.
And there's something there. There's this I don't know, your ability to not get tackled in the open field. It's almost not. It's not quite like speed, or there's this other factor that you can't quite quantify, where he's just hard to bring down. And we saw that over and over again. It was really close to a huge day for him if some of those deeper passes had connected.
Yeah, those will hit for sure at some point.
And that one touchdown, he could have, one of the best wide receiver careers of any Mizzou player ever. And that that touchdown where he breaks several tackles will be right there on his all-time highlight reel.
Yep. Yeah, he had one mishap in the second half where he had a ball hit him right in the hands and kind of went up in the air and got intercepted. But, that could have honestly potentially been another touchdown if he would have caught that because he was kind of in stride and it was in the red zone and everything. But, it's going to happen. Brady might have thrown it a little too hard, too. It was like a 10-yard pass. He threw it pretty hard, so.
You gotta come down with that, or at least not bat it into the air to where it's an easy pick. But that's
I'd rather it happen.
Still a true freshman.
Yeah. I'd rather him get it out of his system against Louisiana Tech.
Absolutely. Let's see here. Looking at the running backs as we kind of go through the offense, they were really trying to make Schrader a thing, and he had some good plays, but just to run through the running back stats for the three co-starters, Schrader was out there first. He had 17 carries for 70 yards and a touchdown. Nathaniel Pete had 8 carries for 72 yards and a touchdown. And Elijah Young had 3 carries for 34 yards. Yeah. So efficiency-wise, Schrader a step below, but Pete and Young both had, Young 3 carries, but he averaged 11 yards per carry.
Yeah.
And Pete had one really big run where he scored, and that was really impressive.
Yeah, he looked really good. I'd like to see a little bit more of him going forward for sure. I think he's the best back we have right now.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Anything else for the Mizzou offense before we move on?
Yeah, just like a couple of notes. Missouri was really bad in the red zone last year. That was kind of one thing that we've talked about, wanting to see them improve. They scored 52 points, but they still had 2 pretty big turnovers in the red zone. Obviously, we just talked about one was the interception off of Luther Burden's hands, and then the other one was a fumble from Tyler Stevens. He kind of got that little shuffle pass up the middle, that kind of Travis Kelce shuffle pass, and got decent yardage with it, but just got hit once and fumbled. And I think that's his first touch as a Missouri Tiger. So he did kind of redeem himself with a nice catch later in the game, but you just can't put that ball on the ground. And in a closer game, that's just absolutely backbreaking.
Yeah, it kind of, at least for me personally, it was like, okay, we don't need the tight ends this year, playing too big of a role. Let's leave that up to the wide receivers and the running backs if we have to.
Yeah.
It's like, if you've got an opportunity here to just cement yourself as the guy at tight end, and I don't think anybody at that position showed that they're ready for it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Hopefully the first game jitters and stuff like that get behind them, and we can see some production from that spot. And it did get better.
Yeah. It's
it can't get worse than touch the ball once, fumble it.
Right. Yeah. It's a young offense. I think they'll improve.
Let's see. Defensively, if you think of anything offensively, just throw it in there. But defensively, Missouri, I thought, okay, so there's 2 things happening here. They looked really good almost every play except 3.
Yep.
They had 3 huge touchdown plays, one of them super late, like less than a minute left in the game. But those 3 plays accounted for 176 of 347 total offensive yards for Louisiana Tech.
So basically half their yardage came in 3 plays.
Just a few yards over half their yards.
Yeah.
And obviously those 3 plays still happened, and they were touchdowns, and that was not good defense on those 3 plays. But we talked about it in the preview. They want a lot of possessions so that they can break off 1 or 2 of these in a game.
Yeah.
And I think if you're Sonny Cumbie and Louisiana Tech, you're almost counting on 3 plays at least per game that are big, explosive plays like that. And they might not all go for touchdowns, but I think all things considered, Missouri limiting them to basically only 3 explosive plays all game, and really hemming them in every step of the way. Outside of those, I was impressed.
Yeah, if you really want to play, this is almost too ridiculous to say, but if you want to play the what-if game, Missouri had 2 backbreaking turnovers in the red zone. They gave up 2 or 3 plays, and one of which was in garbage time. I mean, this game was really close to just being even way more of a discrepancy score-wise if Missouri just capitalizes, a couple times or doesn't make those like terrible mistakes. But, we did talk about how we felt like Missouri's offense would probably get what they wanted in this game, and sometimes that has kind of a psychological effect on the defense where every once in a while, when your offense can just get what they want, you can fall asleep a little bit. And that happens on the NFL level. Mm-hmm. I mean, teams with good offenses sometimes just don't have good defenses because psychologically we know Patrick Mahomes is going to score when he wants to, that kind of thing. So, and that's exactly what happened. It just kind of looked like Missouri safeties fell asleep on a couple plays, just, bit on a route and got exposed a little bit. And I think that's stuff that you can clean up. And for the most part, they were really, really good. And when we previewed this defense a few weeks ago, and we've only played one game, but, we were getting excited about everybody kind of on an individual level, just looking at these athletes, looking at what they're capable of and what their ceilings are and kind of their aggressive style and nature. And I think we really saw that play out pretty accurately, at least in the first game against Louisiana Tech, forcing 3 turnovers. Really just they looked so athletic and were flying around the field and were really fun to watch.
Really solid tackling as well.
Oh, yeah, man. They were great in tackling in space and just looked like they were the SEC team in the matchup, and that was exciting.
Yeah, I wanted to specifically spotlight the whole secondary. Now, not to be overly negative here, but on the first huge broken play where Louisiana Tech scored a touchdown, I know Jelani Williams was one of the safeties in on that play. Obviously, he's not one of the starters. I don't remember who was alongside him.
Probably Carlisle, potentially.
But, potentially if you've got all your starters in there, that doesn't happen. But you need to be able to rely on,
on your depth,
everybody on the 2 deep to be able to make the play.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought overall the secondary really impressed me, especially with their the big plays. And that's another thing we nailed in the preview was that this looks like a defense that's going to be good for a couple of these splash plays, whether it's an interception or forced fumble or just a huge stop, like pass breakup or something. The secondary is going to be responsible for a lot of plays like that this year, I think.
Yeah, just really opportunistic and aggressive. Yeah, I thought Chris Abrams-Drain lived up to the hype. He played a near perfect game. I felt like Carlisle obviously was the culprit of at least one of those big touchdown plays. But overall, I think he's an NFL safety. I think he played really well. Super physical. Joseph Charleston had a pick 6. Played a really good game even outside of that pick 6. Man, he's a really, really good player. And they lived up to the hype for sure.
The secondary is like hyper aware of tipped passes.
Yeah.
And that's got to come from the coaching, I think, because that's where Carlisle has gotten interceptions in the past. And even though there was a penalty that overturned it, but still Charleston made the heads up play to find the tipped ball and make an interception.
That was amazing.
There was pass interference on a different player on that play, but he still made the play that the type of play that we're talking about. Yep. I also thought Tyron Hopper was everything we hoped he would be, at least for one game so far.
Yeah, he looked like maybe the best player in a Mizzou uniform this past week for sure. Like you said, he was just everything we hoped that he would be. He
had an interception and a sack, I think, as well as just,
I think he had 8 or 9 tackles. Yeah. Just was all over the place. Always where he needed to be, and just a ball hawk. Newcomers in general, just
that's
Charleston,
what I was gonna say.
Hopper, Jernigan had a sack.
Yeah.
Who am I missing?
I don't know. We saw pretty much everybody.
DJ Coleman was in there. Yeah. Christian Williams. Lots of new faces that all I thought played really, really well.
Yeah, I would say this is being a little overly critical, especially considering it was the secondary that gave up the big plays pretty much every time. We didn't see a lot out of the defensive ends, but I think they just did what they needed to do. Mm-hmm. I mean,
they got the ball out pretty quick, typically.
That's
what
true.
It felt like.
Yeah, absolutely. And Louisiana Tech ran the ball 22 times for 11 yards. Now that stat is factoring in sacks as well, But if you take out the sacks and just look at running backs, they rushed the ball 16 times for 27 yards.
Yeah. I mean, really, that's just the number one takeaway, I think, for the defense. You know, they played aggressively and were really trying to take advantage of opportunities, but they also were just super consistent and really smart and stayed in the gaps and just they figured out at least, you know, I feel like if last year's Mizzou team was playing on Thursday night, they still give up 100+ rushing yards. There was clearly something massively and incredibly wrong,
especially early in the season,
even against terrible teams. They were just getting gashed, and this team was all business. They've got it figured out, and people were not out of position. People knew exactly what they wanted, what they were trying to do, and we went from 124th out of 131 teams in rushing last year to being the number one rushing team, number one rushing defense after week 1. So,
and Louisiana Tech basically had to abandon the run at some point when they fell behind, and they want to be throwing the ball all around the field.
Yep.
And that wasn't really working for them either.
For sure.
It
was a recipe
the defense shut them down, and when the offense kind of gave them an early lead, they were able to do what they needed to do.
Yeah, they took that away, and that's huge, and that'll be what I think is kind of a theme in the Kansas State game that we're going to talk about. But getting up early was big in this game, just making them throw the ball.
Before we move on to Kansas State, offensive line play. What did you think?
It was a little sus, little suspect at times, and we got a freshman center who's kind of gotten thrown in there, and we've got a right tackle that normally probably wouldn't be playing if people were healthy, and so it's a hodgepodge of guys, but and there's some questionable plays, but overall I thought they played okay.
Room for improvement
for sure.
Okay.
So is that too much rambling for you?
No.
Okay. Little room for improvement.
Yeah. No. I was just trying to be not too negative.
Yeah. Okay.
Room for improvement.
Yeah, I hear you.
All right. So overall, good win. We were happy about it. It was a great atmosphere. Thank you, Columbia, for another enjoyable trip. Now we move on to week 2, and I saw a depth chart online. I don't know. The one I saw was exactly the same as week 1. I may have been looking at a picture of the week 1 depth chart for all I know. There has been no news about the depth chart other than the Chance Luper news. He would have normally been starting last week and this week, but that's not happening. Other than that, looks like everything's the same depth chart-wise. I watched Coach Drinkwitz's preview press conference for Kansas State. He didn't mention any big changes. One thing that is different are the uniforms that Missouri's going to be wearing this week. They got the block M on the helmet with a little gold outline, and their jerseys have a big Mizzou across the front that is new. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it looked really good. I like breaking out the block M for an old Big 12, Big 8 even opponent.
It was confusing me though because they didn't emphasize that in the video that they put out, but it's just Mizzou, just huge letters.
Yeah, I thought it looked cool.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure the home black jersey just has a little tiger head right below the neck and doesn't say Mizzou on the front at all.
I don't think so. Yeah, I thought it was a nice addition.
Interesting. All right, Kansas State is 1-0 after beating FCS South Dakota 34-0. Of course, they have quarterback Adrian Martinez, who transferred from Nebraska. He, in their week 1 win, he threw the ball 15 times for 53 yards.
Yeah, that was a pretty surprising stat line.
11 for 15, I think, for 53 yards.
Exactly, yes.
Running back Deuce Vaughn, their best player on offense at least. He ran the ball 18 times for 126 yards and a touchdown. I think overall in that South Dakota game, they did what they needed to do.
Yeah.
The offense didn't look incredible. They scored 34 points, but they didn't look incredible. The defense was super solid, though. They they shut them out. They had that game under control pretty much the whole time, even though the offense was sputtering a little bit.
Yeah, the starters played well into the second half. I guess you could say they put them away, but I don't know that this offense is super explosive. And Deuce Vaughn is certainly a threat. Last year he had 230. Yes.
I thought of one thing.
Go right ahead.
Abraham came in late in garbage time for Mizzou in week 1. Did that surprise you?
Not really.
Okay.
It was kind of like, yeah.
Do you think he comes in, Brady Cook goes down
Apparently,
mid-game,
I
he's the
think
guy?
So. Yeah, sounds
Seems like it.
Mhm.
Okay.
Last year, Kansas State's running back Deuce Vaughn had 235 rushes for 1,400 yards and 18 touchdowns.
That's not bad.
Also, 49 receptions for nearly 500 yards and 4 more touchdowns. So, I mean, that's pretty comparable with what Tyler Beatty did last year. Maybe just a couple hundred less rushing yards and more receiving yards than Tyler Beatty had last year. So, and he's like 5'6", 180 too. Like, he is a tiny running back, but he's a really, really smart runner.
Coach Drink directly compared him to Tyler Beatty in the press conference.
Yeah.
And he was asked if literally his size presents any issues for the defense with like how they tackle or anything. And he said no. And we know how to tackle. And he said going up against Tyler Beatty in practice has prepared us somewhat for this type of matchup.
Makes sense.
They run a lot of read option with Martinez.
Yep, he's a good runner.
So that scares me immediately.
Yep.
Just incredible running back plus a mobile quarterback with read option. I don't have the memories from last year. Mizzou rush defense have not left my mind.
I understand.
So, and it was Louisiana Tech in week 1. So until we see them be okay against a decent rushing attack, I'm afraid I'm still going to be a little bit skeptical.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll have some chunk plays. Martinez is a very capable runner. He ran for 39 yards and a touchdown last week. So he's like Brady Cook, very much has the ability to just tuck it and run or kind of exploit us in the option game for sure. And Deuce Vaughn, I mean, he just gets so much attention, and I mean, they give him the ball a lot. So the random quarterback run can definitely take you by surprise.
I feel like what they're going to want to do is establish the run, control the clock, try to keep the ball out of Missouri's offense hands, and
long drives.
Yep, just lean on the run. I think we're going to see. I wouldn't be surprised if Martinez only throws the ball 15 times again this game.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I was going to ask you, what is your reaction to that line from last week? Are they just kind of trying to keep things vanilla, or is that just really how they're going to use Martinez all year?
I think a little bit of both. I'm sure they would love to be more dynamic on offense, but I think also they know what they have with Martinez. They know his strengths. They know his tendency to, make just an awful mistake and it turn into a turnover. And they're probably watching Mizzou capitalize on quarterback mistakes in week 1 and know that this defense is going to try to make big plays like that. So let's just if you're Kansas State, let's limit those opportunities by keeping the ball on the ground and leaning on your incredible offensive line and your 2 playmakers that can run the ball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it helps your defense out too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think the offense, they're just gonna do what they do. I think it's gonna be on the ground a lot. Their defense, I would describe it as probably not as athletic or like high flying as Mizzou's is, but probably more consistent and super solid. And they've got a potentially a first round NFL talent at end. And I'm gonna say his name.
All right, let's hear it.
I'm just gonna really just go for it.
Yep.
His name is Felix Anadike Uzama.
Yep.
And he is a beast.
Yeah.
And Missouri plays in the SEC. That's what they said in their press conference this week. Is we go against NFL players all the time. But I mean, this guy demands attention, and I mean, he was breaking through double teams for sacks last week. I mean, he has put up some amazing numbers, and he was like a low 3-star player coming out of high school. So, just kind of a no nonsense guy who's turned into an incredible player for Kansas State.
Kansas State runs an interesting 3-man front on defense.
Yeah.
So they've got a nose tackle and 2 ends, basically.
Yeah,
but they're still able to do it.
Yeah, and that's what makes him so valuable is they're able to drop an extra guy back because it's almost like having 2 guys, rushing, and he's just such a dominant force. So
I don't remember the nose tackle's name off the top of my head, but he's really good as well.
For sure.
And it'll be interesting to see how. I don't remember an Eli Drinkwitz team going up against a defense that only puts 3 down linemen.
Yeah.
So obviously they will be working on that this entire time, but that's a different look that it'll be interesting to see how Missouri holds up with that. I gotta think that an SEC offensive line will be able to handle it better than South Dakota did.
For sure. Yeah.
But,
Javon Foster, he's, like I mentioned earlier, is the guy who's going to be going up against Felix all game, and so he's got a big job on his hands.
He's a captain, and he was in the uniform.
He's who you want
reveal
with that
week.
job. That's for sure. Yeah.
Missouri's offense in this one, I hope they can get something going on the ground. They need the running backs to be able to produce to relieve the pressure off of Brady Cook a little bit.
Yeah, especially 3 down linemen. Like, you've got to take advantage of that if you can.
Yeah, got to be able to get good third down situations.
Yeah.
And no turnovers in the red zone would be really nice.
That would be nice. Yeah, I think this has the potential to be a pretty ugly game. A young Missouri offense is still kind of trying to figure out the kinks a little bit. And a great Kansas State defense. At least it looks like it's going to be great so far.
And I would say in week 1, Missouri's defense looked better than its offense.
Right, yeah. And, Kansas State's offense, I would say, is probably their weakness right now, and Missouri's defense is probably their strength. So it's some interesting matchups, especially, like, with how much Kansas State wants to run. Like, this just could be a low-scoring, ugly game.
Yeah,
like, I don't know what the line is, but maybe take the under.
The over-under is set at 56. Seems a little high.
It seems high,
to me.
And Kansas State, last I saw, was favored by 8.5, which I think sounds high as well.
I found them at 7.5, so yeah, somewhere
Came
right
down
around
a little
there.
bit.
Yeah, definitely. They more than a touchdown.
Yeah.
We're getting into prediction territory, so I'll go for it. I am right there with you. I think a low-scoring, ugly game. We're probably going to see some turnovers for both teams. We want to just have 1 fewer turnover than Kansas State, and I think we're in pretty good shape. It's really hard to go on the road and win. I know everybody wants to see this game in the win column for Mizzou. It's definitely possible. We have to see the offense establish some rhythm. I say let's get Brady Cook running the ball a little bit more potentially if we have to. Whatever it takes on offense just to score a few points to keep us in this one. I think it'll come down to the very end, but I've got Kansas State winning 24-20.
That's exactly the score I was going to say. Okay, so yeah, I mean, I agree. It's really tough to win on the road. I kind of wish this game was a little bit later in the season.
They should have played this. They should have played this at Arrowhead.
That'd be cool. Missouri did not play well on the road, really, in the Drinkwitz era at all. So far, they have not played well on the road. Like I said earlier, this offense, I think, is going to struggle mightily in this game. If they can get up early, if they can score on their first drive, I think that, or I don't know, maybe even getting up 10 points early could just cause some huge problems for Kansas State, because I don't think they want to run, or I don't think they want to pass. And I think they could keep running even if they were down by a couple scores. And so I just think it's so important that Missouri scores early in this game, get up early, and make Kansas State uncomfortable, make them do things they don't want to do on offense. If they play this game 10 times, I think Missouri wins 40% of the time, and I think this is going to be one of those times. So I think Missouri wins 27-24. And
they just get that one more touchdown.
I think they just are gonna. I think they're just gonna score early and be able to just kind of outlast them, and they're gonna slow down Deuce Vaughn enough to get the win.
This is ridiculous. I mean, it may really make you give detailed predictions here.
Okay.
But are you imagining a situation where Missouri's down 24-20 and they go have a game-winning drive to make it 27-24?
Nope. I think they are gonna be up going into the fourth and hold the lead, and it's gonna be really nerve-wracking, and they're gonna be able to hold it off.
Dang.
27-24.
Okay.
You like it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like Missouri is winning this game with a game-winning drive if it happens.
Well, I'll take it how I can get it.
That's true. I agree with you there.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a huge game, man. Like, the way college football is, it's just, if you lose an early game this season, I mean, people fall off the bandwagon sometimes. You just have to win these games, like where it's like a kind of a toss-up game against a similar ranked opponent.
Yeah, this is the difference between this right here is the difference between 6-6 and 7-5.
Potentially, yeah.
And yeah, Kansas State, I think, they received some votes in the polls.
Mm-hmm.
I think they were like the ninth team and like others receiving votes. So they're sniffing around the top 25.
Yeah, I think it's two potentially underrated teams.
Yeah, and both fan bases hate Kansas.
That's true. Kansas State's kind of been wilding on Twitter, though.
That's true.
They
need
been
to
kind of frustrating.
Reel that in a little bit.
Yeah,
Let's
calm down.
Remember who the real enemy is here.
Well, they do not like Coach Drinkwitz because of the recruiting stuff that happened this summer with Joshua Manning.
Yeah,
flipping him,
yeah.
And then they were kind of doing a little showboating on Twitter, which is fine, but Kansas State fans were not very happy about that.
Yeah.
So
and Coach Drink is the type of guy that other teams are not gonna.
He has that about him for sure. Well, they're gonna hate him even more when we march down to Manhattan and beat him this weekend.
Sounds good to me. Let's make it happen. Anything else before we pick some games?
That's it.
All right. So the People's Champion, JD, I think did pretty well for the Patreon guest pickers last week. Maybe producer Cameron, maybe you were right there with him. I think you got an upset, correct? Kyle and I think maybe picked all the same.
Maybe,
games.
just maybe, I squeaked one out this week.
All right, let's hear it.
All right, so Cameron and Kyle both got 8 points. The Patreon guest pickers got 10 points, and I got 12 points.
Ooh, how were you able to do that?
Both the games I picked differently from you were upset games, Florida over Utah and Florida State over LSU.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Yeah. All right, what do we got this week?
All right, game 1 this week is number 1, Alabama at Texas. Alabama is a 20-point favorite.
Battle of the brands.
That's insane. Imagine
saying that to somebody.
Tell a Texas fan, you're going to be a 20-point underdog at home.
Yeah.
I kind of love that.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, give me Alabama.
Yep. Oh, and who's our Patreon picker this week?
Oh, Tristan,
welcome aboard.
and Tristan picks Alabama.
Wow. Homer.
Yeah.
Already, South Carolina at number 16, Arkansas. Arkansas is an 8-point favorite.
If you Arkansas at home, if you want to say Arkansas is fraudulent this year, this would be a game to pick. But
except I think South Carolina is the most fraudulent team in the SEC potentially, as far as like their expectations. Give me Arkansas.
Yeah, Arkansas. I'd be pretty tempted to pick South Carolina if that game was there.
Arkansas all around.
Okay.
Also, I don't know if I said I pick Alabama.
Okay. I thought you might.
Okay. Just in case.
I thought you might.
Already, number 23, Wake Forest at Vanderbilt. Wake Forest is a 12.5-point favorite.
Vanderbilt has looked not bad in 2 games. Right?
Yeah. They destroyed Hawaii and they beat somebody else.
True.
Man, I don't know. I think Vanderbilt could give them a game, but I just got to go Wake Forest.
Man, I wish I knew a little bit more about Wake Forest.
I'll take Wake Forest.
23rd in the country.
What's Tristan doing?
Wake Forest.
You can do it.
Tempting.
Sure, Vanderbilt.
Wow.
Oh, my gosh.
Nice.
The SEC was so good in week 1.
How does it feel to know your fate rests in the hands of the Vanderbilt Condors?
I believe in them.
Okay.
This is Vanderbilt's season.
Good answer.
Every SEC team won except LSU.
Mm-hmm.
And Brian Kelly's a loser.
Brian Kelly was getting absolutely dunked on Twitter, and it was amazing.
And I hope they lose every game that he coaches.
That's probably not going to happen, but it could. It's 100% so far.
Yep.
Already, Appalachian State at number 6, Texas A&M. Texas A&M is a 19-point favorite.
A&M looked kind of fraudulent last week, and Appalachian State
should have won.
That was an insane game against North Carolina or somebody. They both were in like the 60s.
Appalachian State's just crushed from that though.
Yeah,
So
they are.
they're
Yeah,
gonna
they're
be
feeling
down.
down.
And there were like 3 games that were really close last week, and the team that ended up losing, but was probably the underdog, was at home.
Oh.
Like, it was at Appalachian State. I don't remember the other games, but
Yeah. Texas A&M kind of just always looks fraudulent, and then they're a top 5 team.
And then they'll beat Alabama or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I gotta go A&M. I tried to pick Alabama, and they're not even playing.
I'll take A&M. Everybody A&M.
A&M all around. All right, number 24, Tennessee, at number 17, Pitt.
Here we go.
Tennessee is a 6.5-point favorite.
Give me Pitt.
Really?
I'll take it.
Okay, Tennessee for sure.
Take those easy points.
I'll take Tennessee.
What was it? 8-point favorites?
6.5.
That's hogwash.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a little. That's. I bet they win by 12.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Tristan takes Pitt.
Ooh.
Give me those points.
Yeah, he's got to pick against the Vols for sure.
Yeah.
The Vols. Okay.
Number 20.
You have a preference?
No.
Number 20, Kentucky, at number 12, Florida. Florida is a 6-point favorite. Give me Kentucky.
Okay.
Florida
They
beat
looks pretty good.
future college football playoff team Utah.
Is Utah fraudulent?
No.
Okay.
They just didn't play so good.
Florida quarterback,
Really, really good.
what was his name? Anthony Richardson?
Yes.
Something like that? Yeah, he looked phenomenal.
Yeah. Makes you wonder why he wasn't playing last year. But
Yeah. Old Dan Mullet.
yeah.
He and Damian Pierce, like, what's he doing?
I have
What
no idea.
What were they doing?
Yeah. You have a starting NFL running back and a really good quarterback, and you just go in a different direction with your offense.
Okay, well, we remember we talked about how he wanted to take his buyout and run. So
That's true.
Okay, so we agree on that.
We came around on that. That makes sense. Who's favored?
Florida by 6.
And they're at home.
Yes.
And you're taking Kentucky.
Yes.
You already think Kentucky's fraudulent, so
Yeah.
go ahead and pick Florida.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and pick Florida for the brand.
What did Tristan do?
Florida.
I'll take Kentucky. I don't feel good about it.
Okay.
San Jose State at Auburn. Auburn is a 23-point favorite.
I'll take Auburn.
I'll do the same.
Same, and same for Tristan. Mississippi State at Arizona. Mississippi State is a 10.5-point favorite.
Arizona must be
I
bad.
don't know anything about Arizona.
10-point
That's-
underdog at home.
Mm-hmm.
Yikes.
Yeah, I'll take the air raid offense of Mississippi State.
Yeah, I guess I'll take Mississippi State.
Mississippi State all around.
Huh. 10-point. Mississippi State ranked in the top 25?
No,
Arizona must be bad.
must be.
Sounds like it.
That's that.
Oh, what about Nebraska? Do they play?
You didn't put them on the thing? I assume because it's like a D whatever.
I don't
What are
think
they?
are they? Is it an
They're playing
FCS
another
opponent?
Georgia Southern. What are they?
I don't know.
Terrible.
Yeah. We probably should have picked it though. Well, Tristan can't.
What kind of schedule is that? They're playing all just FCS teams now?
I guess Georgia Southern might not
Just
be.
foreshadowing where they're going to be in 5 years in the FCS?
Sunbelt.
Sunbelt's not FCS.
Okay.
What's the line? Do you have that?
It is 23.5.
Okay.
Yikes.
Give me Nebraska if we're picking it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is Tristan.
Okay.
I mean, we can ask him before.
True. All right. Good luck out there on the gridiron. All the picks, and let's go Mizzou. We need the offense to show
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, big game right here.
Hey, we can lose this game and still win the SEC East. So
That's true.
we've done that before.
Pulling Indiana.
Yeah. Anything else?
No.
Good luck, everybody playing fantasy football except you
Thank
and
you.
you. I hope you lose.
Thank you.
And Tim, because I'm
Probably
playing him
I
in the
probably
podcast
will.
league.
Yeah, I probably will.
Special thank you to our Patreon supporters at the $10 level and above: Britt Treese, Brian Smith, Ryan DeMore, Tristan, Ben Smith, Parker, Daddy JD, Luis Hernandez, Tim Keynes, Tyler Harsel, Brandon Garofalo, and Brandon Hanks. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. You're the best. You can find this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. We're on Twitter at Mizzou Sports Pod, and you can email us at MissouriSportsPod@gmail.com.
You can find our t-shirts and stickers on our online shop, MissouriSportsPod.BigCartel.com.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. We will see you next week.
You just kiss that? Oh,
Yeah.
tender, loving kiss, peck.
After our win.